Hockey Picks and Bets on Mayo Media Network. I'm your host, Jake Hahn. New face, new voice here on Mayo Media Network, and I'm really excited to join the team for this NHL season. I'll be taking you through the Thursday slates this year, which tend to be very busy. We got a 10-game card to get through here today, so I won't waste any time talking about myself because, well, you probably don't care. Let's just get to some picks. Some DraftKings plays will be at the end as well, and I'll recap my bets before the DraftKings play. So let's get into the first game. We've got the New York Islanders on the road to take on the Columbus Blue Jackets. The Islanders minus 130 favorites in this game. The Blue Jackets plus 110 home underdogs. Over-under set at 5.5 for this game. Islanders didn't get dealt a great hand from a scheduling perspective, waiting for their new building to be ready. 13-game road trip to start the season. So they're 3 games in. This will be game 4. They haven't really looked great. They needed 39 saves from Ilya Sorokin to get their first win in Chicago on Tuesday. But this is a gettable part of the trip. They got that win against Chicago Tuesday. They get Columbus here on Thursday. They get Arizona on Saturday. And then they get a really depleted Vegas Golden Knights roster on Sunday. So this is a chance for the Islanders to bank some points on, which is obviously a grueling road trip here to start the year. On the other side of the ice, the Jackets coming off just a terrible performance against Detroit the other night. They did not look good in that game at all. And despite being 2-1 on the season, they really haven't looked convincing to me to start the year. I think they're going to win some games. I think they're going to stay in games. They've got some decent goaltending, but I just think the Islanders are a much better team here. Don't love to lay road chalk, but I am gonna lay the road chalk here with the Islanders. This will be a bet for me at minus 130. If you can find a minus 120, minus 125, that's obviously better. But I'm very comfortable with the minus 130 that they have on DraftKings Sportsbook right now. I think the Islanders will start to get on a roll here. So I do like the Islanders. I'm going to make that a bet. Speaking of road chalk, the next game, the Carolina Hurricanes, minus 120 road favorites in Montreal to take on the Montreal Canadiens at even money, over under set at 5.5. It has just been a disastrous start to the season for the Montreal Canadiens. 0-4 to start the year. They've scored 3 goals in 4 games, and only one forward has scored a goal this season, if you can believe that, through 4 games. Jonathan Drouin has 2 goals. Not a single other forward has scored for Montreal. So that's going to change. It's not going to continue that bad for the Montreal Canadiens, but I just don't think that they're a very good team. Carolina 2-0 to start the season. They haven't played since Saturday in Nashville. So a long time between games here for Carolina, Saturday in Nashville, and now Thursday against the Montreal Canadiens. This is the Kotkaniemi return to Montreal after everything that happened in the offseason with the offer sheet situation. And it seemed vindictive between the two sides. Carolina was maybe getting Montreal back for the Aho offer sheet a couple of seasons ago. So some bad blood between these two franchises. I expect Kotkaniemi to get booed at least a little bit whenever he touches the puck at the Bell Center on Thursday night. But I love the Hurricanes in this game. You're giving me minus 120 for a team I consider a cup contender against a team that I consider a lottery team possibly this season. Like I said, I don't think it's going to go this bad for Montreal all year, but I don't think that they're a very good hockey team. So I'll take Carolina as the slight road favorite. I've actually already bet this at minus 115. I'd bet it right up to minus 140, even minus 145. If you need to bet the puck line, I'm fine with that as well. I just think Carolina is the much better team in this situation. Moving on, next game, should get some offense in this one. The Washington Capitals, speaking of road favorites, minus 135 on the road against the New Jersey Devils, who are plus 115 on home ice, over under set at 6.5. Washington's looked really good to start this year, 2-0-1 to start the season. Eye test, they look really, really good, more like those old Capitals. I was worried that maybe they're starting to get a little bit older, some of their top players, but I've been really impressed by what I've seen from the Capitals so far. Ovechkin, 4 goals already to start the season, and Kuznetsov, it looks like he's found his game again after a couple of off seasons. I don't know if that's going to last, but they need him, especially with Nick Backstrom on the shelf to start the year. So I like what I've seen from Washington, and I really like what I've seen from New Jersey this year as well. 2-0 to start the year. I think they're a team that's going to score a lot, and there's a reason why this total is set so high, but I think the Devils are going to score a lot. They're going to probably give up a lot of goals this year as well. I think they might be one of the more exciting teams to watch on a nightly basis. Unfortunately, Jack Hughes did leave the game on Tuesday night with what looked like an upper body injury. They're calling it day to day. I'm speculating maybe shoulder, possibly collarbone. So I hope Jack Hughes is okay. Keep an eye on that as we move forward. But I'm not going to bet this game. I'm going to lean towards the New Jersey Devils if I had to play a side, just a blind lean on the home underdog. 2 teams I like that are going to go back and forth, but this one will be a pass for me. I lean towards the Devils though at plus 115 on home ice. Moving on, the next game, possibly the game of the night here. These are 2 teams that are legit cup contenders in my opinion. The Florida Panthers minus 120 favorites on home ice against the Colorado Avalanche, going off around even money, over under set at 6.5. Colorado really hasn't looked great to start the year, 1-2. They've actually given up 11 goals in their last 2 games. So defensively, they need to tighten things up a little bit. They did just get Nathan MacKinnon back on Tuesday, and sometimes teams tend to take a couple games when they get their superstar player back. So I'm not overly concerned by what I've seen from Colorado. I do think that they're going to figure it out and that they're obviously a very talented roster. Florida, though, they look really impressive. They were my cup pick actually at the start of the season, and my pick to win the Atlantic Division, a really stacked Atlantic Division at that. And I've seen everything I wanted to from Florida so far. They're really deep offensively. We saw Anton Lundell score his first NHL goal earlier this week. He's someone to keep an eye on this year. And if he continues to play the minutes that he's playing, that's just another forward to add to an already stacked roster. Defense that I really like as well. So I like the Panthers a lot this season. This is going to be a pass game for me. I think this line is bang on. I would lean towards the Panthers though as short favorites on home ice. I just think they're in a better spot right now. They're playing better hockey than Colorado. So -120 for Florida would be my lean, but this is a game that I'm going to take a pass on and just sit back and enjoy. That'll be the main screen game for me for sure on Thursday night. Next game, San Jose taking on Ottawa. In Ottawa, the Sharks and the Sens, a true pick 'em, -110 here for both sides. Over-under is set at 6. San Jose, it's been a surprising start to the season. Low expectations, almost zero expectations for the Sharks coming into this year, and they're 2-0. They're off to a nice start, playing on their Eastern Canadian road trip, where they actually tend to play really well historically. They shut out Montreal on Tuesday. They get Ottawa here on Thursday, and then they get Toronto on Friday night. So 3 road games in 4 nights, but they always tend to play this stretch of their schedule quite well. Kind of that pesky road team, even when they don't have great teams. Ottawa 2-1 to start the year. Looks like they're going to get Brady Tkachuk back for this game. He's going to make his season debut after the contract negotiations bled into the season as a restricted free agent. So that'll be nice for the Sens to get arguably their best forward or one of their best forwards back into the lineup. This one's an easy pass for me. I think that it should be a pick 'em. It is a pick 'em. I'd give a slight lean to the Sens here on home ice, but this one won't be making my card between the Sharks and the Sens. I think that line is pretty bang on. We'll move on here. The Detroit Red Wings, home underdogs against the Calgary Flames. This is a game I will be betting +110 for the Detroit Red Wings, -130 for the Flames on the road. Over-under is set at 6. Calgary 0-1 to start the year. They lost in overtime to Anaheim on Monday, but I'll say they look pretty good in that game. I had the Ducks as big underdogs in that one, so I was very happy to see them come back and Jamie Drysdale end that game in overtime. That got a little fist pump for me when I saw that one go in, but I'll give the Flames some credit. I thought they actually played quite well in that game, probably deserved to take the 2 points, and now they start a 5-game road trip out east. So they'll be hungry to pick up their first win, no doubt. Detroit has actually really impressed me to start this year. I didn't think I'd be saying that 3 games in, but 2-0-1 to start the year. The one loss being a blown 6-3 lead late to the Detroit Red Wings. And I remember it well because I was on the Red Wings in that game at +200, and they blew it 6-3 late, and Tampa is able to come back with the firepower that they have. But other than that, the Red Wings have looked really good this year. I'm going to make them a play here. Home underdogs +110. I think this is value for to fade a Flames team on the road that I just don't think is very good. Like I said, I think the Flames are going to be hungry to get that first win, but I just don't think that there's much value with them at -130 on the road. And the way that the Detroit's been able to play to start this season, I think there's a lot of value with them here at +110. So I'm going to make Detroit a play as the home underdog. We move on. Speaking of a team that needs a win, I just said that about Calgary. The Winnipeg Jets, -180. What happened to you guys on Tuesday night? Oh my goodness. They really let one get away there. -180 for the Jets on home ice against the Anaheim Ducks, who are +145 on the road. Over-under set at 5.5. The Ducks have actually been kind of pesky to start this season, 2-2. They've been scoring a lot, which I really didn't expect. I don't know if that's going to keep up, but I looked at them as more of a lower scoring team going into this season. But some of their young guys are stepping up. They're playing with pace. They're trading chances back and forth. So at least they've been fun to watch if it's not going to translate to wins. These two teams did meet last week as well. Back in Anaheim, the Jets lost that game 4-1. The Ducks got the win, but Winnipeg was clearly the better team in that game. They dominated 5-on-5, and John Gibson just played really well, like he does sometimes for the Anaheim Ducks. So I wouldn't read too much into that result. If you are looking back at it, Winnipeg obviously needs their first win here after blowing that game to the Wild. 2-goal lead late. They thought they scored the empty netter. It gets taken back on an offside review, and then the Wild tie it just seconds later and win it in overtime. So we'll see how they bounce back from that. That's a really tough loss for the Jets. Maybe coming home to Winnipeg is what they need. Play in front of their home crowd, get some good vibes going like that, because they lost all three of their road games to start the year. They've been giving up a lot of goals though, which is very concerning. A blue line I thought looked improved, at least on paper, hasn't been playing that way, and they haven't been getting Vezina caliber goaltending from Connor Hellebuck just yet. So I won't be betting a side in this game. I'm not laying that kind of chalk with Winnipeg right now. If I had to bet the side, I would look to the Ducks as pretty big underdogs here. I'm looking at the over 5.5 goals. Actually, that would be a lean for me in this game. I just think with the way Anaheim's playing, Winnipeg has offense to certainly score a lot in this game. Not an over I would usually look to, especially if the matchup's Gibson versus Hellebuck, but just with the way that these two teams are playing, an over 5.5 feels like the best bet in this one. Moving on though, the Nashville Predators on home ice, minus 115 favorites, slight favorites against the New York Rangers at minus 105. Over 5.5, under 5.5 is the total here. Rangers 2-1-1 to start the year, but they really haven't looked that convincing. I thought they got dominated for the most part by the Leafs on Monday. I was actually at that game in attendance, and I don't even think they touched the puck in the second period. And they hung on. Shesterkin was unbelievable between the pipes, and they find a way to get the overtime winner from Artemi Panarin, which was just a crazy 3-on-3 overtime. So not overly impressed by what I've seen from the Rangers, but I do think that they're a good team this year. Nashville scored twice in the third earlier this week to secure their first win of the season against LA on Tuesday. Not a team I'm going to be betting a lot this year, especially as favorites in almost any situation. So the Preds are an easy pass for me. I'm not lining up to bet the Rangers either. If I'm looking at something here, it would be the under 5.5. Maybe you find a flat 6 if you don't mind laying some juice on that flat 6. I just think with Igor Shesterkin locked in the way that he is, assuming he's going to get the call here, UC Soros can certainly hold up his end of the bargain for the Nashville Predators. I would look towards an under in that game. Not looking towards an under in this game. The Chicago Blackhawks hosting the Vancouver Canucks. The Blackhawks minus 125 favorites on home ice. Vancouver plus 110 on the road. Over under set at 6. Vancouver 1-2-1 to start the season, game 5 of a 6-game trip here. They're actually averaging almost 38 shots per game, which is 4th in the league. They're generating a lot of scoring chances, and their shooting percentage is way down. So I think that's going to balance out. Vancouver's eventually going to find that offense and start scoring. It's been horrendous for Chicago to start the year. 0-3-1 to start the season. They've given up at least 4 goals in every game. They're giving up high danger chances like it's going out of style. Like Marc-Andre Fleury is just hung out to dry on a nightly basis here for Chicago. I'm looking to bet the over 6 here. I just think that we're going to see chances on both ends. These teams are going to trade chances. So I like the over 6. I think we see some goals in that one. And the last game of the slate, another game where I think we see a lot of goals. Edmonton minus 180 favorites on the road in Arizona, plus 145 home dogs. Over under set at 6 here. Edmonton's 3-0 to start the season. They've scored 11 goals in their last 2 games, generating tons of chances. The PP is just ridiculous. But on the other end of the ice, they've also given up the most shots on goal per game so far, over 40 shots on goal per game, which is dead last in the league. Arizona 0-2-1, right where they want to be in the tankathon for Shane Wright. The pain for Shane, as I'm calling it this year. Arizona, they're not a good hockey team. They finally did break out offensively and score 4 goals against the Blues in the last game. That was an over that I was on. I love the over 6 here. I think Edmonton's going to score 4 or 5 goals. Arizona, I think they get a couple past Edmonton as well. So over 6, that's an easy one for me. To recap the bets, we've got the Islanders minus 130, the Hurricanes minus 120, probably my favorite bet of the night. The Red Wings plus 110 on home ice, Vancouver, Chicago over 6, Edmonton, Arizona over 6, and I'm looking at a Rangers, Predators under 5.5. As for DraftKings, it's really hard to avoid the Oilers stack. McDavid, Draisaitl, they're playing the Arizona Coyotes. These guys are going to be heavily owned. So if you want to fade them, fade at your own risk. It could certainly pay off if Arizona finds a way to shut them down. A lot of people are going to have those guys in their lineup. Maybe you want to look to Hyman, Puljujärvi, Nugent Hopkins as other options on that Oilers roster, cheaper options. The Coyotes could even be worth a look. Guys like Phil Kessel, Shane Gostisbehere has been playing well to start the season. So you could look at some cheap yotes. I love looking at the Ducks-Jets game here for DraftKings, which is kind of funny. Not really a game I think a lot of people will be looking at, but I expect there to be some goals. There's some really cheap Ducks wingers, Silfverberg, Terry, Steele, Comtois. I really like Andrew Kopp as a play for the Jets. He's up on that top line. He's only $4,300. I think he's a good hockey player, and he's finally getting the minutes to show it on a nightly basis. So I'd give a look to Andrew Kopp as kind of a cheap play at the wing position. And Washington and New Jersey is a game I'm really going to be looking at for DraftKings. Like I said earlier, that totals at over 6.5 for a reason. I played Kuznetsov the other night. He scored a couple goals. He's still relatively cheap. Tom Wilson, Anthony Mantha, John Carlson, other good options, I think, for the Washington Capitals. And two guys are going to be playing a lot for New Jersey early in the season, Igor Sharangovich and Pavel Zacha. I think those are two guys that continue to be too cheap in DraftKings. They get a ton of minutes. I would be looking at them on a busy Thursday slate. That's it for me today. Good luck with all your bets and your lineups. Remember to subscribe to Mayo Media Network. Thanks for watching and listening. I'll see you same time next week.